Hey, what's up, stock compounders? Brad here. So I just finished reading The Acquirer's Multiple by Tobias Carlisle, and I just wanted to share some thoughts about the book. So it's a really interesting book. I'm glad I read it. I would highly recommend it. I found it thought-provoking. And really the thesis of the book, it references a lot to Joel Greenblatt's little book that beats the market. And of course, a lot of you are familiar with the magic formula, where Joel Greenblatt essentially uses two different investment criteria in order to sort stocks, in order to screen stocks. One is earnings yield, which is his measure for how cheap a company is. The other is return on invested capital, which is his measure for how good a company is. And the idea there is that if you can find good businesses at good prices, at cheap prices, you're going to dramatically outperform the market over time. And the acquirer's multiple really takes it one step simpler than that. So the idea is, if all you do is focus on how cheap a business is, you don't try to measure how good it is, okay? If all you do is focus on how cheap it is, and the acquirer's multiple, the way you calculate that is enterprise value divided by operating earnings, okay? If all you do is sort by the lowest acquirer's multiple, you're actually going to outperform the magic formula. And it was like 18.6% compared to 16.2% over the 44 years that Tobias Carlisle backtested the data, comparing magic formula results to acquirer's multiple results. Over 44 years, that 2.5% improvement of the acquirer's multiple over the magic formula gives you like an extra $10 million if you start with 10,000 over 44 years. So small improvements result in big differences over decades. So I like that the acquirer's multiple is even more simple than the magic formula. It's much easier to just use commonly available stock screeners to find these companies according to the acquirer's multiple. Because like I said, it's really just enterprise value, which is equity plus the debt minus the cash. And then you've got to add in minority ownership interests and preferred stocks. So it's basically, what do you have to pay today in order to buy the whole business? Okay. A lot of these screeners just focus on the equity portion of the business. But because of that, companies that are rich in cash and don't have very much debt aren't appreciated as much. So this measure gives more weight to companies who have that extra cash and don't have as much debt. So I think it's a fairer way to look at the value of a company than just kind of per share metrics. Over operating income, which in this case is just the last 12 months of operating earnings. And Warren Buffett talks about how, well, I'll give you the exact thing that Buffett says. So Buffett says, where is it? Buffett often writes that he tracks operating earnings before interest and taxes. At Berkshire, he says his main focus is to build operating earnings, right? So it's earnings from the business, not investments or things unrelated to the operating aspect of the business. And of course, operating earnings, it's just revenue minus cost of goods sold minus selling, general, and administrative costs, minus depreciation and amortization. So I thought it was a fascinating read. The one thing, it's hard for me to really trust back-tested results like this because it's easy to tweak back tests until you get the results that you want. So I do have some questions about how robust these particular percentages are, comparing the acquirer's multiple to the magic formula. But I'm compelled by it nonetheless. And there's a free screener through acquirersmultiple.com that takes like the largest 1,000 US stocks. That's the free version. So it allows you to run a screener for the acquirer's multiple for those 1,000 stocks. And then if you want to get more into the small cap and micro cap stocks, bigger stock universe, it charges, I think it's like $60 a month or $600 a year. Frankly, what I'm doing is I just got a $30 a month Morningstar membership because I really trust Morningstar's data. They have enterprise value. Obviously, they have operating income. So, and I actually compared the data from Morningstar on a few of these top results in acquirer's multiple for the top 1,000 stocks. And the numbers are very similar. So I'm going to use Morningstar and create my own screen using enterprise value divided by trailing 12 months of operating income. And it'll be interesting to see what companies that screen returns. And then I plan to kind of maybe look at the top 20, see if there's a Value Investors Club write-up, see what people are saying about those companies in corner of Berkshire and Fairfax. Are there any super investors who own them? Typically, super investors aren't going to own companies that have a market cap under 200 million just because they're too small. So there's probably not going to be a lot of overlap between the top acquirers multiple stocks and super investor ownership. But I imagine a lot of those will have write-ups in Value Investors Club. So I'll probably make a video about that, what I find from my Morningstar screen, and just come up with a quick spreadsheet highlighting some of those companies. But yeah, I think that's all I want to say about it. Highly recommend the book. It's a short read. It's like 3 hours on Audible if you want to listen to it. I liked it so much on Audible that I bought the physical copy so I could actually take a bunch of notes on it and have those easily accessible. So highly recommend Acquirer's Multiple by Tobias Carlisle. Let me know if you've read it and what you thought about it, and if it had any impact on how you're screening stocks or your investment approach. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. I will see you in the next video. Take care.